Okay, so I want to say right here, and what brought all of this up tonight is somebody had shared something with me on Facebook Messenger. It was actually pretty humorous. It like listed all these different religions, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing because I don't really remember it all. But uh, it was stuff like uh, talking about shit hitting the fan, and like the way that different religions take that, like Hinduism. This shit has happened before. uh, but Scientology actually wasn't listed on there, and I came up with one for that, which is Scientology. It's a Christian cult. I think so, anyways, or at the very least, a high control group to get people to actually follow them. A Usually a dogma that's based in something else. Scientology is a little bit different in that it was actually all invented by L. Ron Hubbard, um, rather than getting its roots in another religion. Uh, so it's got a charismatic leader that can basically talk people into anything, and when you and once they've got you in, that's when you discover the next stage, which is accepting their dogma. And their dogma is usually something along the lines of, like, if it's based in another religion like Christianity, let's say, their dogma for the most part will follow the original dogma. You know, Ten Commandments, Seven Deadly Sins, yada yada, right? All that stuff. Right? I'm just using Christianity as an example here. But pretty much very quickly, you'll see that it splits. Very messed up. What they were doing is the San Diego Church of Christ. Now, this is I will tell you the things that I know about them. I admit there's probably a lot of things that I don't. But they're no longer around as far as I know. But they were pretty effed up. The married couples did not live together. They actually had separate housing for the women and the men. They weren't permitted to live together. They were allowed to get together. It was pretty effed up because it was a sex cult too, and the founder, I forget his name. I don't really care what his name is, to be honest, but he was a sexual predator, and he did molest children in that cult. And he used, he basically twisted the words of Scripture to his own ends. Any of these groups, you're not allowed to say anything bad about the founders or the people in charge. So that's number 2. Number 3, they literally use their dogma, if you will, to reprogram you to fight your own human nature. right? Key example of this, Scientology. If you've seen Leah Remini, Scientology, whoever is talking bad about me or talking bad about our beliefs, right? So that they are the most important thing in your life. A good example of this, once again going back to Scientology, is their policy. It's actually a policy. You have to sign papers agreeing that you're going to do this. Of still can't think of the fucking word. Of basically disavowing or disowning members of your own fucking family if they talk badly about Scientology, or if they do what Scientology considers a high crime, and therefore the other thing that they all have is your programming is gradual. And I, I will be honest, I first started to really look into this part of it when I saw an episode of Ghost Adventures. It was an episode, I forget what season it was, but they actually investigated L. Ron Hubbard's house, and you become something else, right? Like you're still technically human in every way, but in your mind, essentially, because you're blindly following them, which is what they want, and you're also blindly doing whatever it is that they want you to do. There was another cult, and I can't remember the name of this one, but basically they I think it was 12 tribes, if I remember right. So basically the leader of this cult, right, he gets all these people together out in the woods somewhere, and it makes like a fucking commune, and everybody's sleeping with everybody, and they're making tons of children, and the children are being abused too, and where they're basically retraining you to not follow your natural instinct. Alright. So the last thing that they all have in common is the changes that they make to you as a follower are gradual enough that you don't even notice them until it's too late. What is going to become your idea of the world, right? You know, like they say about first impressions. Well, it's doubly true with kids, right? Because their first impression is the one that they're going to have for pretty much the rest of their life, and that includes their first impression of the world at large too. So it's a very hard thing to get away from when you've grown up in it. But it's, for those that, you know, like come in and join, the change is gradual enough that you don't really see it. When you do finally see it, is either just too late, or it's when I was very young, my mom started going to this church called Harvest. Well, it was originally called Harvest Temple. And they moved from this little church to a old bowling alley that we helped convert into a much bigger church. And I was a kid. I was probably like 6, 7 years old, I think. And I was literally helping with construction of the church. I distinctly remember that. And the reason I remember it is because at one point I stepped on a fucking nail. Was, I want to say grades kindergarten through 8, I think. Something like that. It might have been 6. Anyways, this is where the kind of culty shit starts. So the principal of our school believed in corporal punishment. And if we did anything wrong, we would get what they called swats. And what swats were is we would get our asses beat by this principal. It's essentially Scientology's prison. So there are some that are like that have things like that, and then there's some that do corporal punishment. I understand that Nation of Islam does corporal punishment, sort of, almost military style. I evidently was acting in such a way that they were convinced I was possessed and actually performed an exorcism on me. What they either didn't know or didn't understand or didn't care about was that my possession was the fact that I have ADD or ADHD, or did as a child. With the internet and everything now, you're able to Google shit and find out information on stuff like this. And also, if they are a group like Scientology, like, here's where Scientology is kind of fucking brilliant in a dark, twisted kind of way. So you can't learn, I mean, you can now because it's out and everywhere, but say like 30 years ago, you can't learn anything about Scientology unless you're in Scientology. It wasn't common knowledge. And so that would set what sets them apart from most groups. Is like you don't really know what's going on. NXIVM kind of took that model and refashioned it into their own thing. And we probably wouldn't know anything about NXIVM at all if it wasn't for this sex cult angle and Keith Raniere and Allison Mack, because they were made to believe that it was their fault, that it was because of something that they did. and that's when you push all the fucking dogma aside and all the bullshit, that's essentially what cults are. The whole thing, when you get right down to the nitty gritty of a cult, is it's to make whoever's in power over that cult feel powerful. And hang out with you guys and maybe see, firsthand the services and that you offer and what you teach, and then I can make my decision. And if they say no to that, chances are they're a fucking cult. Well, that's about all the time I have for this week. My pack, my tribe. Peace out.